The Better Business Analysis Institute
presents the Better Business Analysis podcast with
Benjamin Walsh. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Better Business Analysis podcast with your host, Benjamin Walsh. And I have been watching the American election this week. It's fascinating. And I thought, why not do a BA Byte series on what we think might happen with a new Trump presidency? This is not a political podcast, just to be 100% clear. This is just based on the Trump presidency that's coming to America. How could that affect business and business analysis globally? So I'm going to give you 10 ways that may affect business and business analysis based on policy, not personality. So number one is global trade relations and supply chains. There is a potential impact in trade deals and tariffs that could affect global supply chains, impacting how BAs assess risk, cost, and timeliness for cross-border projects. The BA angle here is evaluating the stability of supply chains, costs, and vendor relationships. So an example is if America puts in strong tariffs, which Donald Trump has said he will, then countries that are trade partners with America, their exports will be affected. So New Zealand, it's our second biggest trade partner. So that will mean that we won't be exporting as much product to America, while it will just cost more. And it's likely that there will be suppliers in America who will pick up some of that supply chain. So it's quite fascinating. Number two is around regulatory changes and compliance. There will be revisions and regulatory requirements that could lead to changes in business processes, particularly in highly regulated industries like finance and healthcare. The BA angle here is that there will be an increased focus on compliance analysis and ensuring that workflows meet updated regulations. There will be changes in regulations, even with the Senate controlled by the Republicans and possibly the House at this point. And with Trump being president, he's already indicated there will be regulation changes where I think Robert Kennedy getting the healthcare portfolio and Elon Musk getting involved in efficiency of government spending that will result in some changes, as with any government. And so this will be an area that I think will require a lot of BA support. Number three is economic policies and corporate transactions and taxation. So there will be a shift in corporate tax rates, most likely going down, and economic policies could lead to profitable projections and it will impact investments. So, for example, here's a really fascinating stat, is that the stock market rallied and Dogecoin, which is a favorite of Elon Musk, actually went up, I think, about 20% as soon as Trump was got over the 270 points he needed to become president. The BA angle here is that there will be a reassessment of cost-benefit analysis and financial forecasting models, and that will include a lower corporate tax rate. And there is a suggestion that possibly that personal tax in America, there was even a statement around income tax being completely removed. But that will be interesting to see if that actually happens. Number four is labor and employment policies. This will be a fascinating one. So the impact is that there's a suggestion there will be changes in labor laws, minimum wage, and employment visas that could affect workforce planning and projected staffing. For a BA, that means adapting workforce kind of management practices, including automation, as a counter strategy for labor shortages and increased. So primarily about immigrants, or Trump talked about immigrants, and that means that a lot of illegal immigrants, quote unquote, won't be around to do some of the low labor activities, and either there's a pathway for citizenship for those people, or otherwise, actually, it's going to cost more for people. And then if you look at JD Vance, which is Trump's running mate, it's still unknown whether or not there will be a pro-union push. It's very unclear, for example, what that means for labor laws, but there will be a change. Number 5 is definitely on the minds of a lot of progressives, which is environmental and sustainability standards. So there is a potential rollback on environmental standards, which may affect industries dependent on green regulations or incentives. It's very fascinating with Musk pushing Tesla being eco-friendly, so we'll see what actually happens here. But the BEA angle is reevaluating environmental initiatives and advising on sustainability risks if there's a public perception or market expectation shift. So I am pretty sure that, for example, there will be more oil exploration in America, even in some of the reserves that are kind of environmentally sound areas. And so we might see less of that. And so there might be less focus on that. And then people want to know what the impact of that is. And BAs are perfect for doing that analysis. Number 5 is healthcare and insurance reforms. There is potential policy changes in healthcare that could either increase or decrease operating costs for business. It's not clear where that will go. In terms of the BA angle, we will need to analyze impacts on employee benefits, project costs, and any budgetary adjustments for HR teams. So this is going to be fascinating. There were statements around removing Obamacare last presidency of Trump, but that didn't happen. However, there is also talk of increasing that. So we'll wait and see. Either way, there will be a change. Number 7 is data privacy and security regulations. Policies on data privacy could evolve, especially if there is a reduced focus on international data protection, or more of a domestic focus. BAs will need to ensure that businesses remain compliant with both domestic and international laws as they evolve. And as America looks more internally, there may be a difference there in terms of what's expected in Europe and what's expected in the US may change. And that could be in terms of IP as well. So if IP is generated in America and it's copied, say, in a lower cost economy, primarily Trump would point to China, there may be some more regulation around what's allowed there. So that will be fascinating. We touched on this, but number 8 is around immigration and talent acquisition. There will be tighter immigration policies that may affect access to global talent pools, including effectively the Green Pass. We're not sure what's going to happen there, but that will affect tech and R&D sectors. It definitely will. So the BA needs to analyze the impact on staffing, identify alternatives, resourcing strategies, or planning for remote work scaling. So, for example, if the people aren't available in the US and you're a US company and you can't get people in your office to do some of those low-cost jobs that immigrants usually sometimes fall into, kind of low-skilled, then you may need to look to outsource that. Musk has talked about the fact that automation, there might be a huge increase in automation, which would, I guess, might be a counter-argument to low-cost staff. Number 9 is infrastructure and technology investments. There will be increased spending on domestic infrastructure, creating opportunities for business in construction, logistics, tech. There's been talk about vehicles as well. So the BA angle is to identify and prepare for emerging project opportunities and tying it to government funding. So even though that will be tighter, there is a domestic focus here, and obviously the rural people and the people that have been working in factories that have closed down across America are looking, or at least hoping, that will be reversed and there will be less of that manufacturing done offshore and more in the States. And they're hoping that will happen. Again, if that does happen, then there will be more projects in the US. Number 10, and this talking from New Zealand and living in the UK for a long time, this is probably the biggest one for those outside America. And that is the geopolitical tensions and market volatility. So there will be an impact on global alliances, maybe in NATO, for example, that could influence market stability, especially for businesses operating internationally. And there could, like I said, there's a bit of a difference of opinion between EU leaders, the UK, and America. And so we will see what happens. Good or bad or ugly, there will be a change. And so the BA needs to prioritize risk assessment and scenario planning for various geopolitical scenarios. So number one would be if you have supply chains that go through the Ukraine, for example, there's the war there. Trump has talked about kind of ending that one way or another. So that may have an impact to you and global prices of items. There's obviously the Middle East right now. There could be a change there one way or another. There's talk of less spending overseas, less military, so less personality in Europe, for example. So I'm not going to make any projections on what's going to happen there. I'll leave that to the politicians. But what is sure is that there are some risks and issues that will be identified and will need to be mitigated. So the idea is that whenever a change happens, and I've chosen the Trump presidency because it's such kind of a moment in history, but there is the importance of adapting business and business analysis, right, in this time of political change. So when we navigate this, it's essential. The BA role is essential. And so we need to listen. We need to stay informed. We need to look at policy and be proactive with our planning and look at the impacts for our company, for global markets. And if you do that, you'll be ahead of the game. So I hope you learned something now. I tried to keep it apolitical and not talk about what my views are. But anyway, I hope you learned something, and I will see you next week.